Starting up. Okay, so welcome to the Power BI Intermediate Developer session. And this session it's going to be pretty much the same of what we went through, the basic, but with a bit of detail into some of the aspect that we looked at. How to get more, as you said, more from your data using Power BI. So we are going to be looking at what I call the 4 pillars of high quality Power BI solutions. And these are getting data into your Power BI, transforming data when you get into your Power BI. We look a bit more into data modeling, and then we look at some scenarios using DAX. And then, of course, reporting and visualization, publishing and all that. Usually, we should be able to squeeze everything within the time space that we have, since it's just me and you. Yeah. So let's see what we have. So we're going to be looking at. Alex has joined us. Hi, Alex.
Hi. Sorry about being a bit late.
It's all right. We're just starting off anyway, so you're meeting us at the right time. So we're going to be looking at the 4 pillars of Power BI, high quality solutions, which includes getting data and transforming the data, data modeling, DAX, which is the calculation part of it, and then a bit of reporting and visualization, things like publishing, and what options we have. So just before I go on, Alex, so have you had a play around with Power BI Desktop?
Yeah. I attended the previous sessions over the last couple of weeks. And I've had a little look at it myself as well.
Cool. And how has it been so far then?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think I think it could be quite useful. Just sort of looking forward to seeing what's going on in this one, and if there's what other stuff I can learn and things like that. Wonderful. Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Wonderful. Okay, so these are some of the concepts, or these are the concepts that we're going to be looking at today. Loading data, we're looking at some scenarios. Some of it you've seen already, but we probably look at them with a bit more detail. Transforming data using Power Query, which is an element that again we need to develop our competency in. Data modeling, and we look at active and non-active relationships and stuff like that. And then, of course, just a bit more clarity, understanding of what DAX calculation can do for our data visualization, and then, of course, reporting and visualization, saving whatever we've done, either as a file or publishing it onto the software as a service platform. All right, so let's get started. It's a practical class, so we don't need to talk too much. So we know how to get Power BI Desktop, which is different from Power BI Online Service, right? So Power BI Desktop is the authoring tool, and we're trying to load that. I hope it's loading. Let's see. I think Microsoft needs to bring back the hourglass, because that's more reassuring than this circle. Right, it's loading. I mean, since it's just the 2 of you, I think you can interject and ask questions at any point in time. I think it's so that this session could be a bit more interactive. If you have any questions as we go along. So you know what this is. You know what the platform looks like. The splash. So we're not going to go over that again. So what do we want to do? What are the scenarios that we might encounter if we're loading in data? So let's see. We've talked about the various connectivity mode, which is what we have here. So in connecting your data to Power BI Desktop, there are about 4 connectivity mode that Microsoft has provided for us. The first one is what we call the live connection, which is what we have, in the trust. So at the data source, we have an army of data engineers and data modelers. They collect the data, from various sources, from various frontline sources, and they gone ahead to model the data in what we call the analysis service or services, in which all the effort of cleaning the data, modeling the data is done. They have access to various data and data sets, so you can see at the data source here that the data resides there and the data model resides there. So for us, using Power BI Desktop, all we need to do is just get access to that data model and build our visuals. There's no data modeling, there's no data transformation, right? So all we need is send query to the source and build our visuals, and from the visuals we send query to the source that will generate the calculation or the result that we want. So that's one connectivity type. The other connectivity type is direct query, right? Again, this is full reporting. No data is stored on your Power BI desktop memory. You can access data, you can query data, say on databases, that exist, and some other sources, So there are over 20 plus connectors that Microsoft has provided us with. So you can see that the data resides at the source, according to this column. And the only thing we are supposed to do when we have a direct query connection is we can model. We have the opportunity to model the data and also build visuals, as opposed to the first type, which we can only be visuals. So that's live connection and direct query. The other part, connectivity type, which we'll probably be using most of the time, is what we call the import. So with this, you have access to do full transformation of your data. You can do your data modeling. It's high performing because data resides on your memory. All right, and you can see the data source. It could be an SQL server somewhere. It could be other connectors somewhere. The data does not reside at the source. You're pulling the data into your local computing device. As you can see, data, you have access to your data. You can model your data, and then you can create your visuals. So the fourth type, which is basically a combination of direct query and import. You can have the two modes together, so data can reside at the source, and also you can have data on your memory, in the memory, but you have the ability to do the model and visuals. So we'll see how all this is implemented within the Power BI desktop. So this is what we have. So get data is how we get data in. Come on. So let's start with, say we want to connect to a database, or let's start with the analysis service. Right? Let's see. Okay, so it comes up with server, and I think I have a training now. All right, I think that's the server name. So that's my server name. And if you notice here, you see the option connect by import or connect live, which is the live connection. So we go by live connection. Let's see what we'll get. So we're connected to the data, right? Now, just watch out for what happens here with the views. Remember, we call this the views from the basic session, right? So that's the report view, that's the data view, and that's the model view, right? I'm going for, say, training. Okay, that's the cube that I'm interested in, training cube, so to say. So if I click OK, what happens? It's pulling in data, but guess, look at this. Look at what happened here. We only have views for the modeling, and then maybe we have, we have views for the visualization, the reporting tab, but even the modeling has already been done. You can see we have a data model here. right? There's a data model here, and this is a star schema, right? Power BI love star schema, all right? We'll look at that, and you can see all our tables. So the fact that we're looking at here is the encounter table, right? And these are the various dimensions for analysis. Okay, and then we can start building our visuals. So the data is already there, it's already connected, you know, all sort of things like that. That's fine. All right, so that's one option. Okay, let's cancel that. Again, let's launch Power BI Desktop, a new instance. Just give it some time. You know, it takes a while, but definitely launching up. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, there we are. So we've done an instance of Live Connect. What I did clicked on was analysis service. I'm going to try a database server. I think we can still use the same database server, the server name again. So you can see the connection here, and you can see that it's saying that you have import or direct query. So I think if we do direct query, call it bi.dev, I think we should be able to connect to that server. Yeah, connect. All right. For some reason, it's not allowing me to. Just go in, sign in. Let's see what happens. Okay, see what happened. All right, so looks like I don't have access to that server via direct connect or direct query. But what I'm trying to, let's assume I have a server that I'm connecting to. You can see where you get the direct query options. All right, but yeah. So the other scenario will be to bring in import data. So, and that's where probably the most common scenario that we'll probably have. So the import will have these three options. So just look for a file, either on your local computer, right? So my famous training file, for example, and you get to see all the tables, right? So with this, you will have access to all these options. You can transform the data. So it's giving you the transform option when you select the right data. So we'll go for that. So that launches Power Query Editor, all right? You know, so then you're able to connect to our data source, you know. Again, if I did not show this during the first session, say you want to bring in data from an external source, for example, say a website, right? You can click on web, and it's asking you for the URL of that link. So we're looking at countries here, right? Let's assume that, okay, yeah, part of the ask is that, we do analysis, data analysis by, say, population, for example. So we go to a website that probably will have the population figure that we need. For example, this. So we're looking at worldpopulationreview.com. That's the web page, and yeah, this is the list that we're interested in. The current population as of 2022. You know, so what we need to do is copy the link, go back to Power BI, and then within this dialog box, insert your link, click on OK. It's interrogating the website. You can see it's doing something. Right, and those are the list of tables that exist within that website. So all you have to do is just, look at what you have here. So this looks like what we have, but you can also check on the other ones. All right. So table 1 is the likely candidate that we need here because it's got the countries and the current populations, the column. What else is here? All right, fair enough. That's what we need. Click on the checkbox beside it, right? Because we're already in the Power Query transformation tool, which is the Power Query editor, right? There's no need for the options we normally see here, which is load, transform data. We're already in transform data anyway, so just click OK. And that will pull in that table as it is from the website, which is what you can see, right? So you can see that it has pulled in the table into Power Query Editor, which is your tool for transforming your data. So just before you load it into Power BI Desktop, you can clean it up here. So for example, we'll clean up the name. So instead of calling it table 1, we might call it population. Right. And you can see that is changing. If I press enter, it will also change here. Right. And then transformation now. You don't need all the columns. So when you're loading data, you don't have to use all the columns. Just choose the columns that you need. So for example, I only need country and this column. Right. So I right click on that and I say remove other columns. So this is what I need. All right. So a bit of house cleaning here. I call this population. Right. So, and everything I do within the transformation stage is being recorded in the applied step. All right. Just to show you what I mean. Back, you can see that it's undoing everything I've done. But if I move forward, so everything is recorded. It's like Power BI's own macro, right? Without writing macros, basically. All right. So what else do we have here? So you can bring in so many, you can bring in, you can see how we have been able to bring in a data from an external source, which is say a website. You can also bring in data. Say if you have spreadsheet files residing somewhere on SharePoint, for example. So let's go to Excel. And you click on, and just click on open. Yeah. And I'm looking for a particular Excel file that I need. So this is just my own way of finding the right thing that I need. So I need something on SharePoint. Let's go for this. So I click on that. But that is actually on SharePoint somewhere, right? And I need that data to do for whatever analysis that I need to do, because I want to assume that's how you get your information, your data. Some of you might get data being pulled down from a database, or somebody sending you a spreadsheet or a workbook somewhere. So this is my data. This is what we're looking at. So if I go to File, because I don't need to do anything there, and I go to Info, right? What I want to do is click on Copy Path, right? That's the name of the file. Where is it? On OneDrive, right? So OneDrive, you can, it's the same thing as SharePoint, right? So I just click on Copy File, right? And then I can close this. Once I click on Copy File, right? I close that, come back here. I click on New Source. Again, I go for Web. Put the link there, right? Now, with this link, you need to edit it before you click on OK. So you need to remove the question mark, web equal 1. Like so. And once you've done that, you click on OK. And then it will go and pull in the data from that spreadsheet into your table list. Yeah, it's doing something. Yep. And you just, okay, the table that I'm actually interested in here is, for example, coding, for example, right? And once you've done that, it should give you a preview depending on how much data you have. Yeah. So that looks like what you have. You click on OK. And then it pulls that into Power Query, as you can see. Right? You can rename that, for example. You can even do it here. Right? And then you can say, right, so this is my table. What do I need here? Let's do some transformation. You can click on this icon, and it gives you a drop down. You can copy the entire table. You can use the first row as header, but we don't need to do that. We've got a proper header. Choose column. Let's see what we do. We choose column. So it gives you a list of all the columns that you have, and you can decide to say, you know what, I don't need all those columns, so let me choose what I need. So you select everything, you press provide a spell number, maybe that's what you need. Specialty, right? Maybe you need admission time, admission date. Do we need admission time? Maybe that's too granular for current analysis. Length of stay is a good one. The discharge date. Depending on what question you need to answer, you begin to choose. Do you need patient number? Maybe patient details or district number. Again, depending on the granularity of what you're trying to do. Maybe HRG description, spell code. Okay, current primary procedure code. I don't know if that's useful. Depending on if you work in this domain, all right? So let's assume with, maybe we can do complete date, right? Coding status will be good. So you've chosen the columns you need. So you click on OK. And then you're only left with the columns that you want. All right. So maybe I might not need this. I might right click and I say, you know what, I don't need this. Remove. It's possible. Put this one too, remove. Boom. So it's all gone. So that might be what you need for your analysis. It's possible, right? And again, you can see this is a separate table that I pull from my desktop. This is a separate table that I pulled the data from my website. And this is a separate table that I pulled the data from a spreadsheet file. So these are some of the scenarios that you might come across. Pause for a second so I can take a break, but I will leave the microphone open, so I need to hear your comment at this time. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, that seems pretty straightforward.
Wonderful. See there? Any comment?
No, I think it's quite useful to get all the information that you need and directly input it.
Wonderful. In this case, all these files are not related, but hey, let's say they are related, you can easily link them together. So let's assume that we've done a transformation, right? You can easily, you know what? We've not finished our transformation. Okay, so I'm going to remove coding just to give you an example. I'm just going to remove that because we don't need that, but we'll probably come back to that later. But you know how we can bring that in. So I'm just going to remove that table. So we've got population here. We've got a fact table here. So this, now we're now getting into the region of data modeling. So we've learned about extracting data, right? So we're still in the transformation phase, right? So let's rename this as a fact table. That's a major table. That could be like encounter, patient access, could be anything, within the trust that we're looking at. And this will be a dimension. So there's a population dimension. We can rename that as population. I'll probably put DIM in front of it. Okay. So obviously we don't need all these countries. So what countries do we need? We go into our fact table. So we have all the countries listed here. Let's see, what do we have here? So we have 5 countries, all right? Okay, we go to our population table. We need to reduce this to 5 countries. So the way we do that is filter, just like we do in Excel, to select all. And I know the first country is United States. Okay, again, pull out the filter. The next country is Canada. Pull down the filter. Next country will be Mexico. All right. Again, what else do we need? France. And I think the last one is Germany. Boom. So we've been able to filter off some of the countries that we don't need, and we're left with all the countries that we need, which is good, So how do we now relate a new dimension? Because there's no relationship between the two. All right, so what we need to do is click on the fact table, right? Go to home, where we are. Click on combined segment, merge queries. What's going on here? All right, merge queries. So that's our fact table. You can see fact financial, and we only have one table here, which is our dimension table. So we want to relate country in a fact table with the country in the dimension table, right? Because it's coming from the internet, of course, it's going to ask us for some, are we sure that we are happy with the security, privacy level? Just say ignore for that to start with. Stay safe. And you can see that there's a match. So here we have 5 rows, but here we have 700 rows, right? So there's a match, okay? And then we click on OK. So what it does, it imports this table into the financial fact table, which is what we have here. right? But we don't need all the columns in that table. We only need the population column, this guy here, which is going to be the foreign key. If you're coming from a data modeling entity relationship diagram or perspective, so that will be the foreign key. We're using the population as a foreign key. Remove the yeah, we don't need that now. And click OK. That's been able to import the population. You can see, right? So we've established a relationship, and once you've done that, you want to remove this. You don't need this column anymore. We've been able to replace all this. No, before we go, before we do anything, we need to create a country table, right? So I right click on that. I can do add as new query. So it's coming up, right? And then I can right click, remove duplicates. So that's been reduced to 5. It's the same list of countries that we have. We convert that to a table. Right? And we create a foreign key for that, to be honest with you. So we go to add column, add index column. I go from 1 to 0 or 1 to 5. And then I rename this column. So for every table, the apply step is recording what I'm doing. So we call that country. And that will be the country key. Okay. Right. So what we need to do now, go back to the fact table, go home, match queries, match queries. So this time we want to match the fact table with the country table. Again. So these are the normal things you need to do. And this is one of the most important steps as you develop your report. So we're only interested here in the key. So we've just imported the primary key, right? So we don't need this column anymore because we've been able to represent it with numbers. So we remove that. So we can give this product the same treatment. Add as new query. Yep. Come up with a list. You want to remove any duplication. And then convert it to a table from a list, because currently what we have is a list. All right. Now, note what you see here is the M language. That's the coding language behind Power Query. All right. We'll talk about that later. So we convert to a table. All right. So you want to rename that as what? Products. Product list. And then also add a column that will state its primary key. Okay, so we have, and you can see everything is being recorded for each table we are working on. So we go back to the fact table. Now we want to merge. Again, we go back home. You want to merge the new query, which is the product table. Come on. Okay, there we go. So, all right. So products, that's what we're interested in. Yeah, you can see left out to join. Then you say, okay. Click on the expansion button. All right. Select, okay. So again, we brought in the primary key as a foreign key in the fact table to create the relationship between product, country, and population dimension. All right. So we've been able to, we're now from a single flat file, been able to create new tables, right? So another table here that we can okay, I'll get back to that. Let's assume that we've done a transformation, that everything is fine. All right, everything looks okay. We're happy with it. All right, so you just click on close and apply. And it's loading our tables. Yep, it's doing that. And if we've done a good job, Power BI desktop should be able to recognize the relationship we've just between the tables. We should be able to link all the tables to the fact file. Yeah. Okay, creating connection in Moodle, you can see that. Okay, it's looking at data, it's loading it. Boom, looks good. So if you look at our fields in the report view, we should see our tables. Remember, we took the population from an external source, and all the other tables were able to derive them from the fact table. If we go to relationship, right, we have a population. We have some sort of a star schema. Okay, now we have solid lines connecting to the fact table. This is the fact table, remember, which is where we have all our aggregations. Hence, you have all the sigma fields, aggregate fields, and you have our dimension. So we are trying to analyze our data, our facts by countries, by population, and by product, right? So between country and population, we have a broken line, a connection. We have a 1-to-1 because we have a country represented here, and then we have country in this table too, right? But all the dimensions have a one-to-many connectivity with the fact table. So the solid lines, right, are what we call active relationship, while the broken line is what we call an inactive relationship. Right now, we're able to use an inactive relationship when we start applying DAX functions. We can have specific functions to use that. All right. Okay. However, if I right click on that, if I go on properties, let's see what happens. So it shows us the table, country table, and also the population table. Tells us that the cardinality that exists between them is a one-to-one. However, it is not active. To make this relationship active, in other words, the connection is there, but the model is not using it, right? And the filter direction is both ways. Now, however, best practice, you really want to make sure that you don't have a one-to-one connection. All right, so in this case, we don't really need this anyway, so we can delete it. Come on, disappear. Right. And then that's gone, right? Okay. And we have a simple model here. So if we go back to our visualization pane, view, we can start developing our visuals. Visuals. So we have our dates, population tables, product tables. All right, so just 1 second, please. Let me just okay, so we can start. Okay, we want to know profit, for example, by country. So we can click your field, country, and automatically Power BI recognizes that you're trying to build a country visual. So it looks into its arsenal here and think, oh, okay, you might want to be using a map. And instantly you can see the highlight of our various locations within the map. All right, you might say, you know what? Let me have this map, which is a field map. All right, so that's better looking as far as I'm concerned. But what is it that you want to know? Say I want to know country by country. I want to know what sort of profit. All right, so you might need a slicer to help you navigate. So we have a slicer. In that slicer, you want to slice your data by country, for example. So we have list of countries. Right, so that's good. That's looking good. All right, but that's just a button taking you from one country to the other. All right, so what else can we do? We might put a card here that tells us the profit that we are making. So this is a card, a visual card. So we then we say profits. Yeah, and so if we go to country by country, France, that's responsive. Germany, Mexico, United States. Now we're able to do all this because we've built a proper data model, right? We've been able to, create a data model, right? Okay, so we can start building visuals. All right. What else? So how do we enrich this? Number one, best practice. Whenever you need to work on a data, right? On the data set, for example, you need to transform and model your data. Best practice is to create what we call a date table, right? And now, why do we need a date table? Currently, there's no date table. We're using the dates within the financial list. All right, that's fine. But sometimes you might get a table, especially within the trust, right, whereby you might have, say, a discharge date, admission date, right? So when you're doing your analysis, the question is then, what date do I use for my analysis? So it's best practice to create a separate date table, right, which can refer to the fact table. Now, there are various ways to do that. Now, I will show you a couple of ways. Let's see. Just 1 second. Any question, any comment?
No, mate.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So if we go back to, so this is our date. This is the date that, came up with our data. Let's see. If we go to the data view and we go to the fact table, we can see our dates here, right? Okay. So, but we need to create our date table, our own, unique date table. So we go home. Again, we go back to the transformation, Power Query Editor. So we want to create a separate date table here. Now, there's so many ways on the internet, so many ways you can use to create a date table. So one way is to use, and this is where I introduced the M language. So you go into New Source. Yeah, New Source. This time you click on Blank Query. All right. So we can call this, so we call it date 1. That's the name of that table. Date 1, that's the name of that table, right? And then we go to what we call the advanced editor. So this is where we get to write the code for M language. So we delete all that. You can delete all this because I have one that I prepared earlier. Let's see. So this is a code that yours truly has actually written. Nah, that's not true. So this code, I've actually added it to the what's it called? To the accompanying document to this session. So it's saying that this line is not required. Yeah. Okay. So the code, the syntax is right. So if I click done, now it's going to ask me for some parameters, which is basically the start date of the date in your data set and the end date of your date in the data set. So to get that, we'll go to finance, right? So if we look at the dates, what dates do we have here? So we have first, let's see. All right, so we have 1st of 09, 2018 to 1st of 12, 2019. So we go to our parameters, 01, 09, 2018, right? And then we go here, 01, 112, 2019. So that's the range of my data, right? If you have a fiscal year, right? So your fiscal year starts in January or July, or whatever it is, so in April, for example, just put number 4 here, right? But we don't have that, so that's not necessary. So if you click on invoke, voila, it creates that code, creates the list of dates that you can possibly use. Now you can edit this by going to this icon, choose column. Because some of the columns here might not be applicable to your data set. So like financial year, for example, all this. All right, ISO week. Yep. you know, period 445. Things that you don't need, you know. Okay, well, let's say we're happy with that. Boom. You can see all the dates have been created instantly. Let me see. Check the data type. That's error. Okay, let's leave that as a. Hold on. You know what? Instead of doing that, I'll cancel that step. We go back. All right. And you might even remove that. You might not say, you know, I don't really need that format. Okay. All right. So move your data to your table. So we've been able to create a new table. This time, you know, you can call it calendar. All right. I call it calendar 1. All right. Let's assume we're happy with that. We load. You can see what we do. The power of Power Query in helping us transform our data. Mind you, we only started with one flat type of data, a spreadsheet. It's loading. Okay, we're getting there. And you can see calendar number 1, it's been loaded. Right, if we go into our modeling, right, it's not here, but if you click on this icon here, you can see it hiding somewhere. So you can bring it down, right? Okay, but it's not related. So all you need to do is link it with a date. And you can see there's a connection. Now, okay, so let's do some house cleaning here. So for all my keys, I can hide them. I can hide my keys. And then the reason why I'm hiding them, so in the report view, in the visualization view, they're not part of the listed column because I'm not going to use them. So you can do some sort of housekeeping here. I think, okay, we need population. We don't need country. Okay. So we have a perfect star schema. You know, we have a date calendar, which is like a role-playing table. So that's that timekeeper or a date keeper, for example. Right? And we can now use a calendar here to dissect our data. So say we're looking for profits. So I'm just make this bigger. So profit, for example, we only have 2 years, right? Say profit per year. Why do I have a blank? All right. But anyway, and you can add say months. Okay. Once I do that, I'm building what we call a hierarchy. Right? What else can we do with the right? Quarter, for example. Right? Now, once we do that, we build a hierarchy. You can see the drilled through here. So if I click on this, expand all to the lowest one level, right? It goes into, you can see the quarter, right? I can drill down, it goes into months, right? There's something I did not do. I should have created a column that says month number. So with that, I'll be able to sort out my table. Right, if I click on, say, month name, I can sort by, so I don't have a month number, right? If I go back, and this is some of the things probably you will do. Calendar, right, if you go here, choose column. I am trying to add my month number. Okay, I've got days of the week. Right, month name, month, quarters of the year. I'm looking for month number. Wait. Let me do this. You can insert a step. Let's see. So what do I need? I need dates, year, quarter of the year, yeah. Name of the month, quarter in calendar, you can just choose, so if I click OK, right. Okay. I have broken my model. Okay, just simply because I made an error somewhere. Right. Okay, that's fine. Click on the clock wheel. All right, so this is what I need actually. I just need a month number, month in calendar, that's it. And then hopefully that should. All right. So what I'm going to do, might break my, okay, so this is where we are. We start building that all over again. I'm going through this, just to help us, at least this is how we, we might troubleshoot our model. Okay. Let's assume that's what we need. All right. And then we load that back into our data. Now, it might disturb this visual, but we can rebuild it. Okay. All right. Looks like we have it. Looks like that's fine. Oh, it's still thinking. All right. Looks like it's okay. So let's see. We're looking at this visual. And we are looking at, say, month name. This guy here, and we want to sort that out. Hopefully I chose, let's say, month of the year. Okay. So what I'm looking for, if I look for month number, it should be helping me sort my calendar according to the correct sequence of months. So there should be, I should have added a column called month number, but so but what I'm trying to demonstrate there, how to use Power Query to create your calendar. So that's one option. So we have one calendar, which is calendar one. Another way is to use a DAX expression. Now DAX, I don't know if you remember from the last class, I said you can use DAX to create measures. I'll demonstrate that. You can also use DAX to create what we call calculated table columns, and then also use DAX to create what we call calculated tables. So an example of a table creation will be to create a calendar using DAX. So if we go to, let's say we go to, well, we can do it from here, to be honest with you. If we go into the model tab, you can see that says new table. If we click on new table, comes over with a table function, and we can say call that calendar. So we call it calendar 2, right? Equals to, there's a function called calendar. Calendar auto. All right, we don't have a physical here, but I think that should work without a physical here. So let's see, what do we have? It's thinking. Right, you can see there's a calendar table. However, we don't have any column in that table, right? Let's see, if we go into the data view, we only have a list of the dates in our table, right? Now we can edit this. If we click on this, we go to visuals and click on calendar 2. We can add more functions or more coding to enrich this. So you can see how I've dropped down that space, just like we have in a Excel spreadsheet. So if I'm just going to copy a code. Okay, let's remove that. So I'm trying to add additional columns. So that's the first function called calendar auto. Again, don't worry about it, but just to show you how you can use DAX to create additional tables. So there's a function that says add column, and we want to add all these columns: year number, month, quarter, and all that, to enrich calendar auto, right? So type that out. That looks good. Let's see what happens. Okay, that looks fine. If we go back to our data, you can see all the columns that have been added just by using a DAX function. So what am I trying to get to here? I've just shown you two different ways to create what we call a date table. So if we go into the relationship view, that's the new calendar. right? And that's the old calendar. Let's see what happens if we try to link also. Yeah, it's linking. All right. So what is the link to? Calendar. Now we have two calendar tables. That's confusing, right? So we can say, for example, go to properties and make this inactive. In other words, this table exists, but we're not using it in this relationship. We want to use this. All right. So that's the table. It's got all the various columns that we might need. Now, I'm sure. Right. So this is broken because the reason why you have this is because we're using the old date table. Whenever you see this in your visuals, it shows that whatever you're using here are not related. Whatever fields you're using here are not related. We're using the first table. We used so with this from the inactive table. Right. So if we go to calendar 2, which is what we're now using, so we click on dates. So that's working. Quarter, months. All right. If we do a drill through, you can see that. And you can see that all the numbers, the quarters are all jumbled up. So if we say month, for example, because we have months here, right? We can now sort that month by month number. Okay. Let me remove quarter. And then we'll read down to months. You can see that. All right. So you can arrange, you can sort out the sequence of your month by you just using it, looking for month number, and that will be fine. So those are two ways of creating what we call a date table. And it's very essential when you're working on data. So you might have, like I said, so a data that contains, say, for example, admission dates and discharge dates. You need a central date table to be able to, do your analysis properly. Because if you don't have that, how would you know which date table or which dates in particular that you need to use? All right. Okay. So we've talked about extraction of data from different sources. I've shown you an example of data transformation, right? Now I've shown you also how to model your data, and the best practice here is that your data should be modeled as star schemas, right? So there's two different types of schemas out there that are popular. Let me see. Star schema versus snowflakes. So if I go to images, so what we built in our relationship is what we call a star schema, which is this. Basically, we create a fact table, and the fact table is related to various dimension table. So your fact table, for example, can be encounter, can be patient access or urgent care, but you want to analyze the data you're getting by, say, specialty, hospital, word, if it's workforce, male and female, length of service, some stuff like that. Or again, clinical data, length of stay, right? Now, so the best practice is to create this star schema, right? Although we have what we call snowflakes, snowflake looks like this. So you have your fact table in the middle, you have your dimension surrounding your fact table, and also your dimension also have extended dimension, right? Okay, so generally Power BI prefer star schema as opposed to snowflake schema, right? So you can read a lot about data modeling online. There's a lot of resources out there, but data modeling 101, that should suffice for now. So that's what we have, right? Now, with the introduction of the data table, the second data table, we've been able to introduce the usefulness of DAX, which is data analyst expression language, right? So this is a column, a function, add column is a function, calendar auto is a function. Format is a function, how we format the year. So format, we need to create a column called year by using the format, right? We need to look into the date table, which is what we've just created, and then created the format as in year. So if we look at our column, here's the year. Y. All right, so let me see, where are we here? So in a way, we've looked at connectivity. So what do we have currently in the domain? So there are guys who are part of the informatic group, and they develop a dashboard, the sort of dashboard we see on Power BI service, right? And this is their mode of connection, right? For us, that we need to build a report from our desktop or connect to a SharePoint. All right, this is where we sit, and and we've kind of looked at some of the scenarios: live connection, flat file, SharePoint or web, and then also bringing different files from different sources, right? And sometimes we might need to model, sometimes we don't need there's no modeling involved here. But definitely with Live Connect, we don't have to model because all that's been done for us. Again, FatFly, you might need to just work on your flat files or your Excel spreadsheet directly, or just like I've done, been able to break it down into various dimensions. So we've kind of looked at all those scenarios, and we've looked at some transformation steps: cleaning up your data, removing duplicates, correcting your data types. So we've looked at data modeling. I've mentioned about star schemas, dimension tables, fact tables, right? Role-playing tables, which is the date table, for example. And then you've seen me demonstrate an active or an inactive relationship, right? So modeling techniques when using import, structure your data. In other words, look at your data set, make sure that it's clean, break it down into facts and dimensions, establish your relationship. Most of the time, Power BI can do that for you and can do it correctly. But if you're knowledgeable in data modeling, you should be able to investigate if you have the right data type, a data relationship. You can set the feature on or off. I'll show you how to do that. I've shown you how to hide columns. I've shown you how to create at least a calculated column. In this case, a date table. All right. So the rest is, let's look in, a bit more details what DAX can do for us. So just before I go on, again, I need some comments, some commentary. Anything new here that you've learned? Alex?
Yeah, no, all good.
Good. Anything new here apart from what you've known before? Or?
No, the date thing was quite interesting, adding that in. So, no, nice one.
Wonderful. Sida, what's your thought?
Yes, I think, just like Alex said, the data part of it was really interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so let's quickly look at DAX. Has anybody played with DAX before now?
No.
No, okay. All right. Sorry, Alex?
No, I've not either.
Okay. So DAX, as it were, it's kind of similar and also different. It's similar to, let's start with that, to Excel functions and formulas, right? I mean, you can see an example of what I did with the calendar, with the date table, right? But basically, if you need to get more facts, more information from your data set, right? That is how we, we go about it. So DAX is, again, data analyst expression language. Power BI DAX function helps in finding more details, from our raw data, more detailed information from our raw data. Data manipulation, apart from the data modeling, on top of the data modeling, we use DAX basically. So as an analyst, you can produce fresh insights and discover new insight, new ways, from your data. So, this is just scenario, assuming that, you need to say, get, the percentage of breaches across all hospitals in the trust. Of course, there's no column that will tell you that. So you will need a DAX calculation to generate things like that. So DAX comes in various types. So you have time intelligence, which could be, okay, what's the profits last year? What's the situation last year? So there are functions to do that. What I've shown you with the date table, we've used what we call the DAT function. The date and time function, which is the year, the format, and all that. We also have logical functions, if, else, information functions, like, concatenate, join, those things that we used to in Excel. So let me show you a reference guide. So this is Microsoft web page that tells you everything about all the functions that are available. There are over at least 200 plus functions out there. So depending on what you're working with. So for example, in the aggregation category, we have the aggregation functions, which is what we're looking at here. So you have things like average, count, they all have different functions. So for average, for example, so the average is the function. It's been applied to columns, right? So if we scroll down, so average as a function, right, is applied to a column called extended sales amount. And extended sales amount actually lives within a table called internet sales, right? We have things like maximum, again, maximum total sales, maximum total purchase sales, that's the column. So this first one is a measure. So we use DAX to create a measure. I will show you how that is done. That's one application. We use DAX to create what we call calculated column. That's another application. And then also we use DAX to create a calculated table, just like you saw with the date table, right? So this is a reference. I'm just gonna say, let's see, I'll send you the link so it's easy for you to visit. I just sent the link in the chat box. And then let's see some demonstration. Right. So let's assume that this is our data, and without DAX you can still produce some visualization. But let's go back to our table. So the main table here, the main table that we are looking at is the fact file, which is the finance. So this could be an encounter, for example. This could be coding, for example. Right. And then, so these are all our tables. These are all our columns in the fact table, say the financial table. You can see me highlighting it, right? So, here you have your calculation icon. So if I click new measures, for example, so new measure will open up and you can see the formula bar. So let's say, what am I looking for? Say average profit, for example. Average profit, yeah, equals, how do we get average profit? Oh, there's a function called average. And the IntelliSense, that's what it's called, kind of predicts what I'm trying to write. So it comes up with its list of, options that I can use. I'm going for the first one. And when I click on that, it comes up with a summary of how it can be used. Average requires a column name, right? And then what it does, it returns the average arithmetic mean of all the numbers in a column. All right, so what we have here, the IntelliSense, is giving us a list of columns that we can use. Now, how do I know that this is giving me a column? The first one here says calendar. Are we looking at calendar number 1? So it gives us a list of all the tables we have that we can possibly use, right? So how do you reference a table? You reference a table, for example, especially if it's a compound name, in inverted commas. So this is a table. So this is, the second one is a table and a column. The column is in square brackets, but however, you can look at the symbol. The first column on the symbol is, is clear, while the rest is in grid, right? So that signifies that I'm looking at a column. The first one, where you have all the grid columns in grid, identifies a table. So what we need, right? We're trying to write a column here, and so we're looking for average of a particular column that reside in the fact table, this guy here. And what are we looking for? The average, say, profit, right? So we've just put in a column name. So this expression is the column name. And we close that. So we've just written a first measure. Now, if you notice, we don't have any average profit column here. So we've written a measure that will calculate that for us. And you can see that it's there. So we can go to our visuals and use that measure. So let's say we have a table. We're going to have a table, right? And say the table we want to know the average profit for each country. We can use this measure. So we can click on country, which gives us a list of all the countries. And then we can now apply the measure we just created. That's it. Remember, all we did was just create a measure that will calculate the average measure, right? And that's it. So with that, it can do all its magic to generate the numbers we need. So that's one application of DAX, right? Another DAX function, we can write another function, the new measure. Let's say we need to count the numbers of products we have, right? So count numbers of products. Again, this can apply to, say, numbers of patients, all right? Numbers of patients with the particular symptoms, right? It could be anything that you want to count, as long as your data set provides you with the syntax. So equals to, we use a function called count. Right? You can see that. All right, so what column are we interested in? You can see count column name. So we know that the column name, we're looking at the fact table, say product, for example. That's what we're looking for, numbers of product, right? So question is, for this organization, the bosses want to know, how many products do we even produce? What are the categories of product we produce, for example? So to answer that from your data, okay, you just do a count. So again, that could be, you can use a card. Where is it? Where is my card? All right, and you can see my count number of products. So if I click on that, excuse me, oh, we have 700 products. All right, now, just before we go on, for housekeeping's sake, you can create a virtual table, right? So if you click on enter data, this is how you create your own, table. If you click on enter data, right? Here, you can say, you know what, I want to put my measures in a separate table so it's easy for me to see. One way of doing that is underscore, say, right, key measures. Yeah. So leave the column blank. Column 1 is blank. All right. You can load that. So that's a virtual table now. Let's see what happens. Okay. It's loading. There it is. So we have but then we don't have anything. We only have that blank column. We go to our data view. If you click on it, it's there, but it's empty. The column is empty, right? Not a problem. So what do? We've created some measures, like this measure, for example, right? I've highlighted that. If you come here, it shows the name of that measure, but you can change where that measure resides. So we want to take it away from calendar 1, put it in key measures. Is it gone there? Sure, should have gone. Right, say it's moved up. Again, another measure that we create, say average, this guy here. We want to move it from fact financial table into key measures table. Right? And this blank column is a nuisance. We just don't need it. So we can right click on that, delete from the model. That's the column 1. Yeah, we want to delete that. So we have a library of measures that we are creating, right? Which is apart from your measures here. All right, we can create more measures. Let's see. So this is saying we have 700 items of product, but let's say we need distinct product list that we produce. So there's another function. Again, create new measure. We call it this distinct products. Right. Okay. Apologies for that. There's a function called distinct. Yeah. Distinct count. Right. And what are we counting? This time we want to count the same. Okay. And you can see, I validate that. That measure has been created. Now I want to move that measure into my measure table. It's there. Now I can use that in my visuals. Right. So I'm just showing you different functions. You know, there's a lot of them, right? You can do sum, maximum, minimum. There's a whole lot. There's filter. There's so many. So we have functions for table creation, functions for measure creation, right? What we could do again, I can show you. If we go back to a table, let's go back to fact tables. Another way to use DAX is to create what we call a calculated column. So if you look at here, calculations, we have new measures, which I've just demonstrated. I've shown you how to create new tables, right? The date tables, the virtual key measure tables. So what about new column? So if I click on new column, right, you can see that there's a blank column coming up. It's blank, right? So let's see, what do we want to do? Let's replicate this. Let's replicate profit, for example, right? So we know that profit will be revenue minus cost, right? So we can write a DAX for that. You know, let's assume that we don't have a column called profit, so we have to create that ourselves based on our the provision of our data. So we can call that total profit, right? So to make it different from what the Power BI has generated, let's just put my total profit, right? So that will be the name of our column. So like everything else, equal sign. But now what we want to do is we want to take this column, revenue column, square bracket. It gives you the list of all the columns. It predicts that you want to work with a column. So what are we working with? And also gives you the list of all the measures that we've created. You can see average measures, you know, plus some other stuff. Distinct product, right? So we're interested in only the say revenue column, right? And we want to minus dash the cost column. Again, bracket. So that's cost, right? And then we click on OK. So with that, we'll generate what we call a calculated column. So that's a DAX expression, and we're able to use it to generate a new column within our data set. And we can use that column. So this is the symbol of a calculated column. It's a column. It's a table with a sigma sign on it. So that tells you that it's a calculated column, and you can use that in your visual. Say, for example, country again, or product. Let's go for products now. I think we might have overused. So we have different products, and we want to know the total profit per product, for example. So that's the calculated column. And you can see how we've been able to use it within a visualization. And we can use it as slices. You can see that. Right. Okay, we can still use it by country. So you can see how dynamic we can build information. All right. So yeah, so that's DAX in a nutshell. To create measures that we use to generate information, to create tables, right? And also to create what we call calculated columns. So what do we have? Again, if you check the link, you can see all the various DAX categories that you might use. You know why it's important. So you'll get this document as part of the downloads when you go to the Learning Hub, Power BI Learning Hub site. Right. So again, some of the usefulness of DAX. So there's what we call implicit measures and explicit measure. So I'll just explain all that. So we have all this DAX, so all these measures like cost, which is generated based on our data by Power BI. Now they have a sigma sign in front of them. So that will be what we call implicit measures, right? Those are implicit measures. However, the DAX that we created, this guy's here, the ones with the calculator symbol before the name, the measure name, those will be the explicit measures, right? So quick measure is just which is this guy here. You see what it does. So it's just like, instead of writing out your measures, just give you some sort of click on, based on some, categories that has been listed here, right? Sometimes this might just be enough. So I aggregate per category, then you choose your columns and all that. I don't use it, and I don't encourage you to use it. I rather encourage you to learn how to write DAX, because that will, grossly improve your capability. But it's there, right? I'm not going to go into it much. All right. So you have explicit measures and you have implicit measures, right? As you progress in your career as a Power BI developer, you find out that you need to write, custom DAX measures to generate the kind of results you want. Okay. So what else do we need to cover? Right. Right. So with DAX, right, we talk about context. We talk about how calculations are generated, right? So with DAX, we have what we call a filter context and row context, right? So if you're looking at a visual, for example, there's what you call the general context, which is the evaluation context. How do you evaluate what you're looking at, right? So we're evaluating data, say by country, by profit, which is what you can see. Now to make up what we call the evaluation context, we have what we call the filter context. So how do we filter the evaluation context, for example? So what we're looking at, we're filtering by, say, for example, country, yeah, France. So if we click on Germany, it generates a different figure, right? So that, by using filters, the filters can come from anything, slicers, right? Even from the chart itself, right? So those are filters, and that's what you call a filter context, right? However, the calculation generated by rows So fortune cookie, for example, this particular calculation is in the context of this row. Hence, we call it row context. All right, so that's a concept that I need you to be familiar with. All right. What else do I need to talk about? Just give me a second. Yeah, let's see. Context. All right, so to start, to get more understanding on DAX, start playing around with the basics. SUMX will generate what we call the row context for the calculation per row. This is an aggregate function, sum. So the average of a calculation per row, right? So, but start with this, you get to understand there's a lot of resources on Microsoft website. There's a lot of resources on YouTube to explain each individual concept. We cannot cover everything in 2 hours, but yeah, those are things that you should be aware of. Context. For a complete understanding of DAX, it is necessary to know the concept of DAX context. It will help in understanding how DAX works in Power BI. So like I said earlier, we have 2 types, filter context and row context. Right, filter context. If you want to focus on a specific value within a row or wish to apply a filter on a particular benefit from a row, rather than choosing the entire row, the filter context is used. Right? And row context, we apply a filter to a specific row in the table to carry out a DAX calculation. This row context applies the formula for the count on the current row, which is what I just pointed out. So it's mainly used to measure rows, right? And iterator functions are used here. And iterator functions are the functions like SUMX, average X, right? Maximum, that's maximum. But mostly they come up with an X in front of the normal usage, right? There's so many out there, so many of them. Okay, so yeah, that's all about DAX. Again, these guys at SQL BI are probably, I would say, masters. All right, you can check them on YouTube. You can go to their website directly. They are dedicated to DAX education, so to say. Right, so before we move into the final part, I've just introduced DAX to you guys. Any comments? Alex?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a lot more we need to learn, but it looks interesting, and I'll check out that website as well that you said. So afterwards, yeah, no, it looks good.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Sida?
Yeah, no, it's really good. I'll definitely go on the website and have a look around as well and watch like a couple of videos as well.
Wonderful, thank you very, very much. So the final part, reporting. So just to mention, we have a standard theme, right? So, just like, a PowerPoint presentation, we have the trust theme of how things should look like, when we're having a presentation, right? So there's a theme. I'll show where that is. Well, I'll show you how it looks like, of how we need to build our visuals, when we're using Power BI. And also there's a standard document, all right, which is, again, going through, iteration. It's a living document, kind of lay out the standards, like colors, like grid and stuff like that, So I'm putting a link into this document so that you can download it at some point. Right, so let's look at visualization using templates, and then how do we save and publish? All right, and then yeah, we look at how we save as PBX files or publish to Power BI service. So let's assume that this is our report. We've been able to generate all sorts of things, also information. We can publish By clicking on publish, it's asking me if I want to save. I don't want to save, but you know, let's say I'm saving. Okay, let's save it basically for demo. So I'm saving it as, say, Power BI demo, say 2. I don't know. I just can call it 2, right? And I can save that as a PBIX. If I do that, I can share that file with any of my colleagues, right? Now they will be able to open it as a PBIX if they have Power BI Desktop, right? And they'll be able to see everything that I've done, my DAX measures and all that, you know, my modeling behind and everything. They'll be able to see all that, okay? Now, if I need to publish my report as the outcome of my effort to the consumers, people who read reports, then I will have to publish it to Power BI service. Now with that, if I have a pro license, I will have what we call a workspace. So if we go to tab, it's going to ask me for my password because I've changed my password. Right. Okay, am I not? Oh, okay, I'm lucky. Okay, so you can see all the various dashboard that are already there. It's got names there actually, right? But for developers like us, what we're interested in is the workspaces, right? So these are workspaces. This is my workspace. So these are the ones that have been shared with me, right? So you can see the isometric image. It's got multiple heads. My own private workspace is just one icon, right? So if I click my my workspace, it will show you the list of reports. So this is a symbol of a report, and this is the accompanied data set to that report. So this is a report that I published, right? This is another report, right? So this is a dashboard that has been shared with me, right? So that's a symbol of an app. So this is a symbol of a report, data set, a symbol of an app. If I click on the report, you will see everything. Okay, that's blank. Okay, let me go back. So it's intentional blank, data set only. So the provisioning that they've given to me there. So go back to workspace, my workspace. Let's click on demo. Right, that's not coming up. Right, so it's probably because I don't have a pro license. But if I have a pro license, you will see all the data, all the modeling, the visualization that I've done. Let's see. Thought this was working yesterday. Let's see. Okay, looks like we. Oh, all right. So this one works. So this is a report that I've done, you know, that I did earlier, and you can see the interaction. You have the same interaction, but they don't have access to your, say, your filters, your, you know, they just see the reports. Yep. And you can do, you know, they can do whatever they need to do based on what we've learned from the foundation session here. And this is the outcome of your effort as a developer. And you can see the various pages, right? So these are the different pages. So which is basically, you can develop a view of your report on one page. You can click and start developing another view. right? You can say, oh, products, for example, you know, how much did it cost us, right? You can have, okay, how much profit we are making, you know. So you can have different pages. So this could be a page for, say, cost. This could be a page for revenue, and you can have another page for profit, all right? So you can have multiple pages in one report. Okay, so that's how you save, and that's how you publish to Power BI service. Now you've modeled your data. Does that mean every time you need to say refresh new data, you get new data, you have to create model, you know, transform and all that? No. So once you've connected to your data source, right, all you have to do is come here, click on refresh. So it will go to your Excel spreadsheet, it will go to that website, population website, and pull in the fresh data. And every time you do that, it will reflect on the visuals that you already have. So you don't have to rebuild and rebuild every time. All right. So you can see it's trying to refresh. You can see all the refreshing processes going on. And then if you go into your workspace, right, you can say your data set, for example, you can click to refresh your data set, right, if it's connected, you know. So that's at a high level. What else? All right. So the last thing I'm going to show right now is how to import a theme. So you go to File, Import, Power BI theme. I have one stored on my computer, the way it says standard. And if you click on that, what do we have? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. It's loading. Right. So this is the theme. You see what it looks like. I'm sure at some point they might update this, they might upgrade this, but this is currently what we have. So, you know, it just gives you placeholders on where to put your visualizations. So you might have, say at the top here, right? You might have, depending on the data, so you might have your dimensions. So your, say, specialty, hospitals, you know, and all that. And here you might have your cards, right? So depending on the data, because with this, we don't have any data anyway. And then depending on the visuals that you're trying to build from here, your charts and stuff like that, or the table, line charts, you can see all that. So that you know, that's what the theme looks like. Okay. So I guess right. I think we have finally come to the end of today's presentation. Again, just before I quickly round up, I need comments from you. What have we learned so far? So let's unmute our microphone and yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's really interesting. I've learned a lot about everything really. And I'll look forward to going off and trying out my own data. Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome. Wonderful. Go on, Sadia.
Yeah, I think it's been great. I learned a lot about collating information from different sources as well, and also making it easier to access different information and formatting in a different way as well. So yes, thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome. Right. I've just sent you the link to feedback form. Please complete that. Again, you can use your phone to scan the QR code. It's easier. It won't take you more than 1 or 2 minutes. So if you need to leave any feedback, again, that's our email address. You can contact us via that. You have my team contact. You can, nudge me with any questions that you have. I'll be glad to answer them. Also, we have the Power BI support, which you guys have been to, which is where you guys, I guess, enroll for this session. But then follow-up is, if you need any support, we have drop-in sessions. You can also, again, enroll for our drop-in sessions. If you go into Power BI Support Hub, okay, just go to that, Corporate Services, Power BI Support Hub, and you can see everything about Power BI that we have in place here. Available dashboard that we already have, catalog, of course, you know about this, foundation, basic, right? So our drop-in schedule, if you click on that, again, right, you can join at any point. These are available dates. If you have any questions, if you have any domain needs that you want us to, collaboratively look at together, okay? So that is there. Yeah, what else? Let's see. Yeah, I guess that's the last slide. We just say thank you. Thank you for listening to me. That's the end.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
You're
Much
welcome.
appreciated.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.